And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Phone number 888-659-3727, 888-659-3727. So great to be here. I just got into the studio, believe it or not, stuck in Sunday traffic here in Los Angeles. It was insane. Had to go down to Los Angeles, down to the city for a little event, and almost didn't make it back for the broadcast. But, you know, what are you going to do? It is what it is, what it is, what it is. If you're new to the program, don't know who I am or why I'm here, I'm a consumer advocate for men and women suffering with hair loss. I'm the author of The Bald Truth and the Truth About Women's Hair Loss. And I'm a guy who has been dealing with hair loss for well over 20 years of my life. Recently turned 47 years old. I've been dealing with hair loss since the age of 21 and have been lucky enough to make the right moves, have the wherewithal to kind of step back and realize, you know what, most of this industry is shit. And, lucked out with a drug which is now prescribed as Propecia. The drug is Finasteride. Used it for the last 17 years with what I would consider to be extremely reasonable results, no adverse side effects that I'm aware of. And, little scalp makeup, a lot of hairspray, a lot of, a little growing the hair a little longer than it needs to be in order to kind of cover up the thinning areas, and voila. I have a relatively full-looking head of hair. But, I'm the type of guy that was not equipped to deal with hair loss at a young age. And that's why I do this broadcast. For you guys who are equipped to shave your head and move on, to me, that is the best step you can take. Forget about this craziness. Forget about this show. Don't go to the message forums. Don't buy my books. Live your life and be happy. But for a large majority of hair loss sufferers, especially at the beginning, few years of hair loss, we're just not equipped to deal with it. So I wanted to create a safe place for men and women to come and learn and to share and to be a part of a fraternity that sadly, none of us really want to be a part of. But we're here to help each other. That's what this broadcast is all about. Phone number is 888-659-3727. I got an interesting email this week, and I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm just going to kind of give you the gist. It was a young guy, I think he was 24 years old, and he was really considering getting himself into a hair system, buying a hair system. He has pretty significant hair loss. Didn't want to spend the money on hair transplantation. He actually wasn't sure if he had enough to really get him where he needs to be. Plus, he was concerned about the surgery. Asked me about hair systems, and this was a very compelling email because he was talking to me about his life and how his life is, his girlfriend apparently left him. His parents don't understand the fact that he's so upset about his hair loss. He just needed a little guidance. So, this was forwarded on to me. Decided to get back to the guy. Got back to the guy, told him what I thought about, hair pieces, how to go about, wearing hair, so on and so forth, and that it's probably not a bad idea to start even before you consider surgery. He ended up going on to Bald Truth Talk message forums and was so turned off, this is after I wrote him, so turned off at the idea of wearing a hair system because of the guys in the forum that now he is willing to take out a loan to get a hair transplant. Just because a bunch of unhappy guys or guys who don't realize that, hair systems are a reasonable option even for young men were basically saying that he shouldn't get one. So, I just want to put it out there. And he also went to another forum, which he got lambasted on. That doesn't usually happen on our forum. But I just want to put it out there that, guys, everyone has there's a lot of options out there. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Just because you won't wear a hairpiece, and just because you don't think they can look natural, and just because you think that there's some sort of a person may have some sort of a psychological issue, severe, insecurity because they want to put that on a prosthetic, let them figure it out for themselves. I think we should all be here to give people the best possible advice without necessarily, just giving them, information based on your specific or narrow point of view. I just wanted to put that out there because this guy's really discouraged now. I personally don't think he's a candidate for a transplant, being so young and having such aggressive hair loss, but he was considering doing it. What could have happened to this guy? And I just hope that he continues to contact me. I hope he's listening to the program because I want him to know that, there's real help out there. And there are people that live their lives wearing full, hair pieces that no one would think they could ever wear, and they get married, they become successful, they live their lives. It is possible. Wanted to put that out there. 888-659-3727. 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call. I think this is probably Joe. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Spencer, I must say I'm an extremely agitated and frustrated mood type. Let me explain to you and the millions of people listening now why. I'm going to have to castigate the following companies, so let me explain why. I must castigate Histogen, Folica, Aderans, and RepliCel. It's now fairly obvious these cats are getting 30 to 35% regrowth in clinical trials. What the hell are they waiting for? Allergen is laughing all the way to the bank. They will have a product in the marketplace within 1 year. It is already FDA approved for eyebrows. By 2013, it will be in the market. They will be making millions. So it's amazing to me that these companies, Allergen will be making billions, and these companies will still be under the microscope. Listen, guys, wake up. Put something in the market, because hair loss sufferers won't take it anymore.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
My name is excuse me. My name is
Would you like to may reiterate it?
My name is
Have you heard it? Excuse me.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
Joe, that was a classic Joeism and a classic opening from Joe from Staten Island. I certainly appreciate that. But again, I'm going to repeat myself. These guys are moving along at the pace that they need to move along at. And frankly, they're not hyper concerned about, what some of the guys in the message forum are saying. Yes, I think they're pretty concerned that people are claiming that and posting that RepliCel is dead, or that these companies are full of shit, whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is, they will get there. If they get there, they will get there when they get there. And good for Latisse. Let them make some money. I'm glad there's going to be another, Allergan's putting out another product that could help hair loss sufferers. But we know it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. We know that people are still going to want this holy grail of cellular regeneration, cellular hair transplantation. That's what they're going to be shooting for. So I don't think they're that concerned about Allergan making a couple $100 million in a few years, because they're going to make plenty.
I wouldn't say a couple $100 million. I'd say like several billion.
Well,
easily.
Whatever it is, and that's good for them. As long as they're helping people, and that's what we want. We have another drug. We're going to have another drug on the market that's going to help hair loss sufferers. That's awesome.
Well, with all due respect to you, I think you're a little misunderstanding my point, sir.
Oh, okay.
Please, sir.
Sure.
I know you're a little older now, as we know, but I'm going to get into that. But no, my point is, like, if you have something that can regenerate 30 to 35% of a person's hair, I mean, that is outrageous. That's better than any hair transplant can do. I mean, that is outrageous. We don't need perfection. Today we have nothing. Isn't something better than nothing, in your expert opinion, sir?
In my expert opinion, yes, something is better than nothing, but they're not waiting to get to the end point where it's 100% effective. They're waiting to be able to get it out there A, safely, B, be able to prove its efficacy in a big way enough where they're going to get enough funding to move forward, and then bring it to the market so to a degree where it works so well, they're not going to have to pull back. They're not going to get bad-mouthed on the internet. People are actually going to be helped consistently. And that's what good business people do. You know, if you want a hit and run, there's plenty of companies out there that have tried that and they failed, and they've taken people's money, and you know it's not a good idea. Now, granted, they can do something offshore. Maybe they will. But what happens if what happens if it really isn't working the way that it should be working? What happens if they can still continue to have to tweak it? They can really shoot themselves in the foot, especially if they treat a few thousand people and it's not working well. That's going to spread like wildfire.
Well, what is your definition of not working well? Not 100. I mean, 100%.
It's not my. It's not about my definition. It's about their definition.
Yeah. Right.
My definition is if you can grow 15% of a guy's hair back, then it's worth a shot. But that may not necessarily be what they're interested in doing.
But that's better than anything that exists today. 15 to 20% hair regrowth. I mean, that's my opinion.
Well, and I accept your opinion. I think that's a good opinion, but it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. It doesn't matter what 30,000 people on members of whatever members we have on Hair Law on Bald Truth Talk. I was slipped there. That was Freudian. It doesn't matter. How many thousands of people view our sites and read what people are commenting about. What matters is what the company wants to do, how they want to roll this thing out, and that's it. It's all about speculation. I think, listen, this is great stuff to bring to the table, Joe. This is great for the show. It's great for our listenership. But the bottom line is we can't rush them.
But don't you think they're going to be drew off when the news in 2013 is on the front page of every newspaper, every newscast, Allergen announces hair loss treatment? It's going to be all over the place.
It will be all over.
CBS, the news.
Absolutely.
So, no doubt about that. How they're going to play this up.
Absolutely. But I also think people are going to be very disappointed. The way that the media plays it up is a lot different than the reality of these hair loss products. This is going to grow hair. There's no doubt it's going to grow hair. We don't know how much hair it's going to be able to regenerate for people, or regrow for people. And, maybe it's going to help slow down the process, just like maybe a more powerful minoxidil. That's all good stuff. Going to be great for women, I think. But for guys like yourself and for guys like me who are currently painting their bald spots, it probably won't do that much, in my view.
Well, it is my understanding is a very effective prostaglandin, which translates to PGD2 inhibitor, which is why Allergen is practically different than anything on the market today.
You're right about that, and I agree. But we also know that, what we don't know is how limited the growth is going to be for guys. We don't know.
Oh, Allergen knows, but we don't know.
Exactly.
That's a fact. They know, believe me. They know exactly what they're sitting on. A medical find of the century. There's nothing better than a hair loss treatment. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think cancer treatments are probably up there too, but yes.
Well, that's a matter of, you know how I feel about that. A lot of forms of cancer are treatable today. My mother's had 2 forms of cancer, and she's still alive at 80 years old. So I know for a fact a lot of cancers are treatable, where hair loss really is not treatable. That's what,
I think hair loss. I think you're incorrect about that. Hair loss can be treatable for a certain percentage of guys.
Well, generally speaking. Now, let me clear one thing up, if you don't mind, Spencer. A lot of people on the message forums are posting that, like Histogen can't help people who've had hair transplants. That's not true. Dr. Greg Zarian has stated that it will work in scar tissue, and hopefully we can get him on the show. Interview him about the latest RepliCel findings. I would like to bring him tonight.
We definitely can, and I see that people are asking for that, and that's terrific. And when he's ready, we will have him on the program. He's already said that he would do it. I cannot twist his arm and rush, the interview. Remember, and I want you guys who are listening to this broadcast or watching this broadcast who frequent the message forums, especially my message forum. These guys do not want to be bullied. bullied. These guys do not want to be coerced into saying things that aren't necessarily, that aren't necessarily true. They are not here to, pander to the message forums. They have been kind enough to usually provide me with a open line of communication to get answers for you guys. But if you guys continue to beat these guys up every time they say something publicly through the Bald Truth and on Bald Truth Talk forums, eventually no one's going to want to say a fucking word. And you're going to have to get this news from the mainstream media. And frankly, we know how the mainstream media reports about these technologies and these potential treatments.
So your sort of opinion, Spencer, you feel that these companies are really intimidated by people in message forums?
I don't think they're intimidated. I think they're just like, fuck them. Why do I have to go out there? We're providing these guys with information that is really, something that we don't have to do in order to move forward with our product.
Yes.
We're doing it for a couple of reasons. One, we're doing it for Spencer, and because he wants to get this information out to the public.
Yeah,
and believe me, these guys have talked to me behind the scenes.
I know that.
About the situation, what happens on these message forums. And my message forum is relatively tame compared to some of the other crap that's going on out there. And they're just like, your interviews go, they go all around the message forums, and then we hear all this crap. People are making all this innuendo and speculation, calling these these scientists and these researchers names. It's insane.
I know exactly what site you're talking about. I don't have to name it.
But it happens on my site too. You guys just have to calm down. Everyone is doing their best to I'm doing my best to get this information out to the public. I have no ties to these companies. I don't make any money off of these companies. It's not in my best interest to keep any information from you guys. As soon as I get the information, I am given permission to provide you guys with this information. I do that. Period.
Well, what? Yes.
Go ahead.
That's obvious. You are a good journalist, and you're the first to get the interviews, and you provide excellent information. I want to compliment you on that. Now, in your expert opinion, have you dissected the latest RepliCel findings, and what is your opinion on them?
I haven't dissected them. No, I read them, and I was contacted about them by RepliCel. And I think that, the truth of the matter is they're not new. They just basically put that out. But I told you guys, after I did the last interview, and after we spoke about, everyone's freaked out about RepliCel's failure, that they had a percentage of guys that had some really significant growth.
He did say that in his prayer.
Okay, so I was privy to this information. And I basically told you guys, I wasn't specific about it, but I guess they figured they had to get this out to the public because all the bullshit that's going on, and all the shit talk about their product.
Right.
Sorry, you know what? It pisses me off because I don't think that these guys really understand how lucky they are. Because, a few years ago, 10 years ago, they would never have had access to this type of information.
Believe me, I know that for a fact.
And
10 years ago, all he had was the elusive Dr. Go.
Yeah, but nothing seems to be good enough for them. If you conduct an interview, either Kobren's not asking the right questions, or the people that are being interviewed are holding back. They're hiding information. They're conning us. It's craziness. Take it for what it's worth. You guys can talk about it, and you guys can believe whatever you want to believe. But I will tell you that these scientists, these researchers, these physicians are all trying to get to this point. They're trying to get that holy grail out to the hair loss public. And it's not in their best interest to hold anything back as far as the technology. It's not in their best interest to lie to you people.
Well, no, I didn't say they're lying, but they're obviously not going to say everything because they are competing with other companies. I mean, they're not going to show their full hands.
That's true, but it's not anybody's. I mean, these guys they think they're somehow entitled to getting this information.
Yes, they are very demanding. But just one more comment, please, if you don't mind. As you know, Histogen this week has new photographs, Have you had a chance to study their new PDF?
I didn't study it, no, but I did look at it. See, you study
Yes,
things. I just don't have time to study them, but yes. So why don't you tell us about, give us your assessment of the photographs.
Well, our good friend Dr. Gail Norton appeared this week at the Scientific Dermatology conference, and she made a presentation, and she showed some photographs. The bottom line is with multiple injections and more dosages, they're receiving greater results, up to 45% regrowth.
Right.
I mean, I've seen the pictures. In my opinion, they are very, very encouraging.
Absolutely. I've been very impressed with Histogen, but what do I know? I'm a layman, and I do speak to. I've spoken to Gail Norton on several occasions. I recently spoke to Dr. Zarian, and he's very excited about things. But like anything else, it could fall through. I don't think that's going to happen. But I just have to put it out there that, and again, I have no ties to these companies, no ties to RepliCel, no ties to Histogen, and I am, whoever wins, wins. Let the best company win. Aderans, whoever brings this technology to the forefront, to us hair loss sufferers, I'm going to support.
Yes, of course. Of course, you support it. But I would respectfully disagree with you on one point. You say you're not a layman, but you're a layman. No, Spencer, you're not a layman. I could see you to be the most knowledgeable hair loss person in the whole world.
Well, and I appreciate that. That's not necessarily true. I think I'm probably one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to the hair loss industry. But I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physician. I just know this field and how it works. And what I try to do is guide everyone in the safest direction. And I try to get the truth out there. But again, and I guess I sound frustrated, it doesn't seem to be enough for some guys. And it's just the stuff that I read online, sometimes I'm just like, wow, you know what? You can't make these guys happy.
Well, they could theoretically have something come out next week that turns a NOAD 7 into a NOAD 1, and these cats will still have something to castigate them about. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to, Scorpion in the chat room.
Yes, I want to welcome him.
Yeah, welcome, Scorpion. The bolds are unnecessary, but I understand you're trying to get my attention. I can't recommend the product that actually works except for speaking to your doctor about possibly getting a prescription for Latisse, which we do know works to increase the diameter and length of eyelashes, and there are plenty of women out there who are using it off-label for their eyebrows. So it's very reasonable to think that Latisse will work on the eyebrows as well, but you have to speak to your doctor about that, and you have to get a prescription. I don't know how it works. I don't know where in the world you are, but I'm sure you can get your hands on it, and I'm pretty sure you can probably get a prescription from your physician. And but I think it's like, I don't know how much it costs. It's like $100 a month or something like that here in the U.S.
Well, yeah. It's $120 a month, and let me tell the Scorpion that Allergen is also testing Amadapros Latisse for increased eyebrows, hair growth in the eyebrows besides scalp hair. They're in phase 2 trials also.
Right. Yeah, good point.
And the Scorpion could also buy this online if you want for Latisse.
Well, I can't recommend that, Joe, and you shouldn't recommend that either. And just to let you know, Joe has no official affiliation to the Bald Truth, so whatever he recommends, whatever it is, that's on Joe.
Yes, I'm just a caller.
What'd you say?
I'm just a long-time caller.
That's the
truth.
truth.
No affiliation with Bald Truth. No, it is the truth.
I had to put it out there. If you give people advice to use products and services to get drugs online, you're not affiliated with the Bald Truth, so.
I didn't tell them to get it online. I just told them it's available online.
Yeah.
They could study it.
I just got to put it out there.
Yeah. No, you should go to your doctor, Scorpion.
And another guy in the chat room just asked me about why you can't get a hair transplant if a cure is not going to be here for 3 to 5 years. Who said you can't get a hair transplant? You want to get a hair transplant as long as you're a candidate, you understand the entire scope and possible pitfalls, that sometimes it just doesn't work out, and you're cool with that, then I always tell people, why wait to live your life? Life is short. It's precious. It goes by very quickly. I just turned 47 years old.
Yes.
Do you know if I didn't take the plunge and get myself on medication early on, even when people were saying this stuff wasn't approved for hair loss, people were saying, oh, it's going to feminize you, you're going to grow breasts, you're not going to be able to have children, all the stuff that we didn't know about the drug. If I didn't say, you know what, It seems like a relatively safe drug. Again, we didn't realize or even hear about any possible long-term adverse side effects, some of the stuff that's coming out now. But if I didn't take that chance, I would have lived life much differently. And, so to me, it's like if you're willing to take the risk, if you understand the risks, and you understand that cosmetic surgery is cosmetic surgery, hair transplantation is surgery, and you are a biological organism where anything could happen as far as growth, healing. The vast majority of guys do well, but you can be one of those guys that don't do well, and you have the money, then why not? That's your choice. I would never tell people to put a hold on their life like you have, Joe, or a lot of other people that I know.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people on the sites have spreading rumors that if you have hair transplants now in the future, that RepliCel or Histogen, Aderans can't help.
Well, that's bullshit.
Not true. All the doctors have stated that they can be used with a transplant.
That's exactly right. From what I understand, it's exactly you're going to have scar tissue. You're going to have some fibrotic tissue around the grafts. Microscopic fibrotic tissue, but it's not going to make a difference because the hair that you're really going to need to cosmetically, you're going to have plenty of space in your scalp that's not going to be affected by the hair transplant. That's not going to be affected by scar tissue or migrating. It doesn't really migrate, but expanding fibrotic tissue maybe in the donor area. It's going to be fine. You'll be very happy, I'm sure, if we can get to this endpoint with these technologies. I'm going to have to take some calls, dude, when you're done.
I'm sorry. Kenny Lishanek and Dr. Zarian have stated that these products will grow hair and scar tissue after transplantation. This is a medical fact. So I don't know what the hell these guys in message forums are stating these terrible things. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what the message forums are all about. Listen, I love the fact that there are message forums out there, and I love our message forum for the most part. I really do. I think it was something that we needed to do. Well, and we only started a message forum a little over 3 years ago.
Yeah, Ball Truth Talk.
Yeah, Ball Truth Talk, and now it is one of the most trafficked forums ever in hair loss, and certainly the fastest growing message forum in the history of the industry. Basically surpassing forums that have been out there for 12 or 13 years. And the reason for that is, I believe, is that we really, do our best to provide completely objective information without totally trying to control the flow of information, which I believe a lot of message forums do. But with that said, there still has to be moderation. There's a lot of craziness that goes on. We don't love the talk of people who want to harm themselves because of their hair loss. We think it's counterproductive for the entire forum, and we, but you also don't want people who are, and I'm bringing up Scorpion, who've brought that up in the past, to be isolated either. We want to provide people with as much help as possible. So it's kind of like a fine line, man. And then you get criticized for that shit. So it gets frustrating, but the bottom line is, I think we're all in this together, Joe. I don't always agree with you 100%. But I
appreciate it.
But you don't agree with me 100%. But for the most part, I think, everyone is here, should be on the forums to help each other, not to fight each other, not to bash each other. And sadly, I think as guys, there's just so much testosterone flowing that, that's just what happens. If you go to like Women's Hair Loss Project, you don't see that shit. Women treat each other with the respect and dignity, and they even if they disagree with each other, there's just a different level of integrity on the women's forum than, in my view, than on the men's forums.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, thank you for that, Joe. Listen, I'm going to get off my soapbox and take some phone calls.
Let me say one quick thing. I wanted to thank Tracy on the Ball Truth Talk for talking this young man out of suicide. She advised him it wouldn't be a good option, as a hair loss sufferer. This young man who's suffering terribly, and Tracy really tried to help this guy out. I really want to thank her for that.
Tracy's wonderful. And she takes shit too. I usually spend Sundays reading the forum, but I knew I had an engagement today that I had to go to, so I spent a little time yesterday, and that's why maybe I sound frustrated because I spent more time than I usually spend on the forum. And I go through the days of posts, and I go back and I saw Tracy having to duke it out with people, and I mean these guys are so fucking disrespectful to her, It's unbelievable to me. She is entitled to provide her opinion. She has lived this life as a hair loss sufferer. She's been through it all. She's had surgical hair restoration. She's done her research, and she's a very reasonable, rational person. I can't speak. Rational person. It doesn't mean she's right about everything, but it means that, she knows a lot, and she's going beyond the call of duty to help other hair loss sufferers. Why do people constantly criticize her for that? You can disagree with her for certain things, but let's all try to be respectful. Now, I'm going to stop talking about the forums now. Let's take a phone call. Hey, who's this? You're on the air.
Hey, Spencer. Hey, Joe.
Hey, George. What's happening, man? How are you?
Oh, just lay down on the couch here with a cat on top of me if you hear him purring, and watching 60 Minutes and checking out your program, man.
Thank you, man. How's the hair looking, all right?
It's there, I can
Not your hair, my hair.
Oh, I haven't, I'm just listening tonight, dude. I don't have the computer up.
I don't give a shit about your hair. It's my hair that I care about.
I'm sure your hair is looking better than it was in that program we were discussing the other day, which shall remain.
Oh, thank you. That's a very, I don't know how to take that, but I appreciate that. I don't know.
I won't mention the program because you don't want people going and looking it up, but I had the whole program, by the way. I did have the whole thing intact, and I scanned through it and saw you numerous times, and it was really, really interesting.
Oh, good.
Really interesting.
Thought the hair was interesting. You're giving me a complex. Well, you know what? I've evolved.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would definitely say so. So beyond and hello to my friend Joe from Staten Island, and thank you for the Neogenesis report, Joe, and hello to all the rest of the people, Suncast and Johnny from Ohio, Andrew, and all the rest of the crew. Beyond all this yang back and forth with all these people in the forums that are hell bent on pissing off our only source of information beyond the idiots in the mainstream media. Beyond all that, are we still in this 3 to 5 year mode bullshit, or is there actually? Do you think there's actually something that's better to say than 3 to 5 years, which I've been hearing for the last 20 years?
I have no idea. I can't say there's anything better at this point.
Oh, jeez.
That's all we got.
Not what I wanted to hear, obviously.
Well, what do you want me to say? We spoke to you last week. It was the same shit. I wish I had new news for you.
I know. Yeah, I know. We go from week to week like a frog trying to hop from one pad to the next and not get eaten by the fish underneath. Just looking for some hope, man, just to hop from one pad to the next until we can get to the shore, until we get to the promised land. And the promised land just doesn't, despite all this breakthrough, to me, it just doesn't feel like it's any closer than it felt 20 years ago. I know I should feel differently, but when you've been led on for 20 years, you get jaded and disillusioned and a little bit cynical and pessimistic about all these supposed breakthroughs because you've seen it for 2 decades and nothing ever came to any fruition.
Listen, I get it. I've been dealing with this forever, as long as you, my man.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're bringing me down, dude. First, you're insulting my old hairdo, and then now you're bringing me down. You're bringing the whole show down.
Well, you busted my balls last week, so turnabout's fair play, right?
That's true.
What was it you were telling me? I just got an iPhone. What is it you were telling me? You got some kind of an iPhone deal for your show. What is it I need to learn how to do to get your show
just
on my
go to
iPhone?
Just go to gfqlive.tv and you'll be able to watch the program on the iPhone. Just click on the ball. Just click on the ball of truth.
So I pull up. I just go to the browser thing on the iPhone and just put in GFQ what?
gfqlive.tv
on the iPhone and just pull it. Okay.
And you'll see the ball of truth. You can listen in your car. You can watch the show if you're not driving. Listen through your Bluetooth, whatever. You can also go to StitcherRadio.com in your car. I don't know if you actually. I guess you have to have the Stitcher app on your phone in order to play it through your car. But eventually, it's going to be in most cars anyway. So.
Can you tell that I'm speaking to you on a Bluetooth?
No, I cannot.
I got this killer new Bluetooth. Everybody says it sounds like it's hardwired, and even you can like walk around and go even through walls and stuff.
Wow.
And the crazy thing was, I was driving in my car last night. It's been cool at night down here in the spring, and I was coming back from a fishing trip. I had the windows rolled down, man. It was like the wind was roaring in my ear, and I was talking to a friend, and he couldn't even hear the damn wind blow because of the noise canceling stuff. So I'll have a way now to listen to your program wherever I am without the background noise getting me a lot of grief from you guys.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about hanging on hold or being near a computer because you can listen online through your phone or through if you have an iPad. That's cool too. It works.
That sounds good.
Listen, I'm going to take another phone call. You have another question about hair loss, maybe?
Yeah, quick question about hair loss. I told you about this. I'm getting ready to go back and see my anti-aging doc and maybe get with a local dermatologist. I've had a problem going on for a number of months now, maybe for the last year and a half probably, of just a lot of little tiny, a lot of dandruff and a lot of little tiny, like little bumps and stuff on my scalp. And I think it's just from stress, because I've had a lot of like toxic levels of stress going on in my life for quite some time. And so I don't know if this is some kind of prostaglandin response or something, or if it's, I don't know what it is, but, and it seems to be most prevalent in the area of the scalp where the hair is thinning. You know, like little, almost like little, not little bit, almost like zits under the scalp or something. Or like bumps under the scalp.
Well, did you see your dermatologist?
I have not yet, but I'm going to. And I just wonder if you had any suggestions on, because I'd seen some stuff in Life Extension about stress and cortisol problems, and I've had problems with that, and how it relates.
So why don't you stop stressing out?
Yeah, it's not that easy.
Johnny says you got to get laid. Why don't you go get some pot or something? Actually, I can't advocate that because that's illegal. Except unless you have a license here in California. But have a drink.
Yeah, that's what my lawyer told me. He said, I tell you to go get drunk, but I know you don't do that. I'm working on trying to control the stress. But this cortisol thing apparently can cause some kind of scalp eruptions and stuff. But it seems to be worse in the areas where the hair is thinning. And I was wondering what Joe was talking about with the prostaglandin stuff. But anyway, I was going, when I go see my anti-aging doc and a dermatologist, do you have any particular things you think I should ask them about related to this? I mean, I realize you're not the.
Well, first, I think you should ask them for a referral to a shrink, so you can relax a little bit, get some pills, and then you can just tell them what's going on, and it could be your diet, it could be a little bit of stress. I would probably look at my diet a little bit more, even though you have a great diet. Maybe you need to remove something from your diet that is causing some issues. Who knows? Sometimes just revamping your diet, even though you are you eat a healthy diet, just changing some of the foods around can make you feel like $1 million. It could affect like dermatological issues and whatever else you're dealing with.
Yeah, I'm going to re-examine that and see if there's always room for. No matter how good it is, there's always room for improvement, and
that's how I look at me.
And and it hasn't, things haven't been as tight and disciplined lately as they have been in the past.
All right,
but
man.
anyway, I appreciate the input. And,
you got it.
I will give you. I'll let you know what feedback I get on that.
All right. Are you going to be listening on your Bluetooth?
Yeah, throw me in listen mode there,
all right.
please.
All right, man. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Spencer. It's Sam from New York.
Sam, how are you, man?
Good. I got a couple of questions for you. Hopefully you can answer them for me.
Sure. What's up?
Okay. Well, the first one is actually from my cousin, who's also a hair loss sufferer.
All right.
And he's been using the Finasteride for a couple of years. It's been doing okay for him. and he hasn't really had any like the major side effects that people are talking about. But his concern, his question is related to he's married and he wants to try to have a kid to conceive, and he was concerned about the side effects that it could have, let's say on the embryo or something, like trying to have the child.
Right. Well,
he said that he read something on the packaging that it could cause birth defects.
All right. What he read on the packaging is, there's a warning that women who are pregnant should not handle broken tablets because there is a possibility of a rare birth defect in male children who are exposed to finasteride through the woman. We've never seen anything happen. There's been no known issues with guys who are taking the drug getting their wives pregnant and having normal children. However, with that said, if it were me, and before I even say this, I know guys who have had twins who were using on finasteride for years. One of my best friends recently had a baby. He was on finasteride for 10 years. Everything is completely normal. In my personal life, the guys that are on the drug who have had children, everything's been fine. I've never read a single study. I've never heard a single complaint on the internet. There's never been anything that I've been made privy to think that if a guy's taking finasteride that they can possibly cause any birth defects in their children. However, with that said, there's nothing wrong with getting off the drug for a couple of months and then trying to conceive a child. If it were me, I would probably make that choice to dial it back, get off it for a while, and just see if we can conceive. And if it doesn't happen, he could always get back on for a month or two, get his DHT levels back on track, and then he could always get off it for a while. So I would probably get off of it, even though I don't know anyone who has, and they've had completely normal children, both boys and girls. But if it were me, why potentially take that chance of being that anomaly, that 1 in 10 million babies, having 1 in 10 million babies that might have a birth defect because of a drug?
Right. And I was thinking that it would probably be in the semen too, the finasteride, and then if you're still having sex with your wife, even though she's pregnant already, you would therefore be putting it in her. Yeah,
but again, you're right about that. But he could always use a condom when she's pregnant, so he can get back on the drug and use a condom. It's not going to be the end of the world. But still, it's important. And this is your brother or a friend of yours?
My cousin.
Your cousin. It's important that your cousin understand that there has never been any evidence ever of any birth defects being caused by the guy using the drug and impregnating his wife or his girlfriend.
Okay.
But I still wouldn't take the chance. It's just me. I would risk losing a little hair as opposed to being that possible anomaly and risking my child's well-being.
Right. And they say it affects the male genitalia of the fetus.
Well, yeah, the rare birth defect would basically, 5-alpha reductase inhibition in fetuses can actually affect normal growth of male genitalia. So that can definitely be an issue.
Yeah, we don't want to mess with his junk.
That's right. That's right, man. I just don't want to put it out there like, Kobren says you can't take Propecia. It's Propecia's poison, and you can't use it if you're going to get want to impregnate your wife. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I wouldn't use it.
Right.
So.
And being that I'm myself, my cousin is the same way. We're kind of like on the paranoid side, like, hey, you never know. I don't want to be that one anomaly. So yeah,
that's right.
I would. My second question is, you had mentioned a few weeks back that you heard about some woman doing these the scalp micropigmentation in Italy that's temporary, and I want to know if you have any follow-up information on that because
I don't.
I'm interested in it.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, because I'm interested in it because I'm not really a candidate for hair transplant. I went to one of those doctors, as I told you in the past, one of the IHRS doctors, and they said that I didn't have enough donor hair. So that was out of the question. I can't do the finasteride because he said it really wouldn't help me in my situation. So that's the only option I have left is that or a wig, and I don't want to wear the wig. So
Well, you realize that if you do have scalp micropigmentation, you have to wear your hair extremely short. Basically, it's completely buzzed. So,
I'm down to a Kojak right now because we're Norwood 7.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know. I saw some videos that Joe Tillman sent me of this woman's work, and it looks pretty good when it's fresh. And I know that they claim it's temporary. I don't know. To me, it's still two-dimensional. And I don't know. To me, it's just odd. It's just an odd thing. And but I guess if it's temporary, what the hell? If you know that it's going to eventually fade and you can deal with that, then,
Right. And that's the only reason why I would even think about delving into it is if I know it's temporary, in case they messed it up somehow, then I'm not really going to be in trouble.
Yeah, well, I don't know how temporary it is. I don't know when it starts to dissolve. I don't know if they have to use a laser to remove it. These are things I would have to investigate, and maybe you can as well. You can probably contact Joe Tillman through the IHRS, or you can contact him directly on baldtruthtalk.com and see if he can give you a little bit more insight.
Joe Tillman, okay.
Yeah, he actually works for Hassan and Wong.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, man.
Cool. Thanks a lot, bro.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Okay, bye.
All right. I tell you, this chat is so distracting. I'm trying to do a show here, and I'm reading the chat. Ridiculous. People are asking if they can ejaculate, if it affects hair loss. I mean, God almighty, it never ends. Hey, Joe.
Well, we got to thank our special guest, the Scorpion, for being in the chat room tonight. He's really lighting it up.
He's the man. George is making fun of my old hairstyle. He saw me. Don't mention the show, but he saw me at some old show that I was on in 1998, and he's just goofing on me.
Yeah, George really brought me down. You should have given George a little help, Spencer. You should have, announced him that we know Latisse will be out in 2013. But
I'll pot him up. I'm potting up, Joe. I'll let you give him a little hope. Hey, George.
Is it my time to get castigated or castrated or what?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to give you some hope. You mentioned before I was discussing the great Spencer Kobren, prostaglandins.
He is great, isn't he? He is a great man, isn't he? He really is. He's too modest, but he is a great man.
Well, in my opinion, he's a messiah of the hair loss community.
Well,
I'll let you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm just gonna read the chat.
All right, George. Here's the situation. As you know, Dr. George Castorales, a couple months ago, announced that PGD2 is a major culprit in hair loss. This is all over the worldwide press. I'm sure you're aware of.
No, sir, I was not aware. But I'm glad you're informing. Glad you're informing me now.
I kind of figured that, George. You weren't aware of it. But the bottom line is, you aware of Latisse that women use on their eyelashes? You're not aware of that either.
Yes, I was aware about the Latisse thing.
All right. Well, I've had too much time. The bottom line is Allergan is now in ending phase 2 clinical trials. They're working on a very strong version of Latisse to grow scalp hair. It is a prostaglandin PG2 inhibitor, which has been demonstrated by Dr. Hideo Uno that clearly has grown hair in apes and will probably grow hair in human scalp. What percentage? I don't know. Only one person.
Wait a minute,
knows.
Joe. Let me ask you something. Is this got anything to do with that company that was announced? Some of my friends told me about it from different places around the country. That was regrowing hair on the mice and rats that had male pattern hair loss, and they were regrowing hair on them. Is this the same stuff, or is that a different company?
No, that's a different company. Allergan is doing this on human beings, not on.
Now, is this the same Allergan that makes the drops for ophthalmology, for the ophthalmic drops, for eye drops and stuff? That's the same company?
Yes, you're talking about Bimatoprost.
Well, they make a whole bunch of different stuff for eyes, but I just wonder if it was the same company. Anyway, go ahead. I apologize to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have to castigate you for that. I'm just kidding. Botox, they make Botox. I think it's the third largest pharmaceutical country in the world. I mean, I don't think they'll be catering to some psychotics on the message forums. I don't think they really care what they think. The bottom line is
I can get him on the air. I can definitely get him on the air. But I've spoken to companies. I'm not going to say which company, drug companies, about what goes on online, and all of these guys just want to recoil. They don't want to be a part of any of it, and it's fucked up. It really is. There's a handful of guys on the message forums who are ruining it for everybody. But go ahead, Joe.
No.
So you're giving me some hope, Joe. Joe, you said this Latisse thing is going to happen for the scalp. When do you think it's going to happen?
It's going to be fast-tracked because, as Spencer knows, Latisse, like minoxidil, was already FDA approved for another indication. So Latisse
let me guess. Let me guess. They're going to fast-track it in 2 to 5 years, right?
No, more like 12 to 14 months.
That's better, but, do you think that's legitimate, Spencer, or is this another thinly veiled 2 to 5 year bullshit?
No, it's definitely legitimate, for sure. But we don't know how
14 months.
But honestly,
wow.
it's another drug, which is great. We know that it's going to work to some degree. We're told, and I believe that it's going to be more effective than minoxidil. Will it work for the long term? I don't know. So far, Latisse does work for the long term as far as eyelash growth, which is pretty effective, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's very effective.
And
Dr. Alan Bauman has been using.
Go ahead about Alan Bauman.
Dr. Alan Bauman has been using Latisse in its present form on his patients. He hasn't been getting dramatic results, but he has been getting some results. Whereas Allergan is using a much, much stronger formulation of bimatoprost, the active ingredient in Latisse. And what results they're getting, I have no idea. I don't have the knowledge that these so-called experts on the message forums are privy to. And I'm being sarcastic about that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go get a drink. I'm going to put you guys on hold. I'm going to take some more phone calls when I come back. Phone number is 888-659-3727. 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Cohen. By the way, Scorpion, I can't look at your link while I'm on the air. It's an issue with my computer linking through the chat. So, I'm sure that your hair loss is probably a lot less severe than you think. However, I don't know. But you got a lot of people in the chat who are out there to help you, including Tracy. Phone number 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Kobren. You are listening to and watching The Bald Truth, self-help radio for guys and for girls who get it. We'll be right back.
The man who's helping to make hair loss history.
They wish to cure us, but I say we are the cure.
It's Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the phone number. I can't give away the type of wine that I'm drinking. It was a very special wine given to me by someone in the business. I don't know why I can't tell you. The reason I can't tell you is I don't remember it. I don't want to make him feel bad. I told him I was going to drink this right now. I can tell you later. If you're just tuning in, I'm Spencer Kobren. You are watching and listening to The Bald Truth, self-help radio for guys and girls who get it. And I just want to address something. I'm reading the chat too, and I see Scorpion's in there. And poor Scorpion is under the impression that you somehow have to have completely perfect facial proportions and a facial structure and a jawline and, perfect hair and perfect eyebrows and all this stuff to be found attractive. I mean, really attractive by women. And I am here to tell you, Scorpion, that, and I want to help you, it couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, young girls are going to, ogle over, these male model type of guys and these actors and the guys with the perfect eyebrows and all this stuff. But the truth is, most of them are going to end up with just regular dudes who are good looking enough. And these women are going to find them extremely attractive. And as they get a little older, they're going to find them even more attractive, and these model type guys a little less attractive, especially if they're not producing in life. You know, I was a guy, and I don't want this to sound obnoxious, but never the best looking guy in school by any means, or a kid, or as an adult. Just, you know, good looking enough. That's it. And they're always the guys that were like the model types in school. But in the end, the prom queens and the beautiful women, this is before I became successful in life, always ended up coming my way. And I can tell you that I believe it was based on a certain amount of confidence and personality, way beyond looks, because I did not have the looks compared to these cats. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, I was like 5'9". I graduated from high school like 5'9", 150 pounds or something, 160 pounds. I mean, I was really, really thin, and I wasn't that tall. I really didn't get my height or, my build until I was older in life. So, Scorpion's like Spencer's rich. I mean, Scorpion, I want to get through to you that the point is, there was a time in my life, I come from a blue-collar background, I had no money, I really, could barely afford to take somebody out to a movie. And I was still able to pull the women based on the fact that they liked me. That they either thought I was cool or that I was funny or whatever it is they were attracted to. And again, there were guys who were much better looking, who came from wealthy families, the guys that went to my school. I was lucky enough to go to a good school. And I know you're young, but looks are not everything. You want to maintain a decent look. That's why I do what I do. I was obsessed with my hair, and I still am. But you do not have to be a male model to get the girl of your dreams. And I'm talking about looks-wise. That's all I'm going to say. 888-659-3727. And no, that's not even true, Johnny. I wish that were the case. None of the above. Yes, Scorpion, looks can give you power, but I will tell you that it's much more powerful for a woman to be great looking than a man. In the end, I know guys who are like modest, I mean, not even good looking at all, who are my contemporaries, who have the hottest, the most smoking wives in the world. And yes, these are successful men, but they were driven to be successful for many reasons, and not just because they weren't the best looking guy in school. I also know guys who were great looking when they were very young in high school who are bums today, and they still look okay. And you know what? In the end, they don't have the hot chick. They're the guys with the big bloated chicks who are just willing to deal with them because they can't make a fucking living. So I think you need to get your priorities straight and just realize that you're probably a lot better looking than you think right now. And even if you do lose some hair, you're probably going to be fine. I just want to put that out there. 888-659-3727. I'm going to pot Joe up, and then I'm going to take some calls. Joe, I don't know if you agree with me, but I mean, I think that's the reality of life. And he sounds like maybe he's under 25 years old, so he doesn't really get it yet.
Yes, it seems to me that this chat room has taken a very odd turn since Scorpion has joined us. I mean, I'm trying to criticize the guy, but he seems to bring out the worst in hell or sufferers.
Yeah, I don't know. Some guy in the chat room just asked me if my hair loss was noticeable when I pulled these beautiful girls. When I pulled my last beautiful girl, my hair loss was extremely noticeable. And I didn't even understand how to style it yet, as George will attest to, because he saw some old program I was on in 1998 and basically poked fun of me. And it was a mess, I mean, compared to the way that it is now, because I wouldn't get it professionally cut because I was so terrified to go to the barber because I didn't want him to see my hair loss. And I still pulled, and right before the chick that I'm with right now, common law, I pulled a really smoking girl. She was a hair model. So, and I was totally whacked up. I was drinking a lot. I was bloated. I was unhappy. I've evolved much more since I've been in this long-term relationship, which has been almost 13 years. And then when I was out there on the prowl trying to get women. But it was all my attitude, I think, because it worked. And there were a lot better looking guys around. These girls could have had anybody they wanted. anybody.
Because I would criticize. I think you really underestimate yourself. I mean, you are tall, and you are. I think I've met you on several occasions. You are very good looking. I mean, you are better looking than most.
Well, there were times in my life when I wasn't quite as good looking because I was drinking too much and I was eating too much and I was bloated in the face and I had a crazy hairstyle and I was just, and I think I've evolved. But I'm saying that I'm not underestimating myself. But there are plenty of guys. Some of the women that I've been able to get in my life could be with guys who are complete models, and that's what Scorpion is thinking. He thinks that you have to have these crazy thick eyebrows, perfect jawline, perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect body in order to be respected and to be powerful in this world, and that's just bullshit. It really isn't. The most respected and most powerful people in this world usually aren't that great looking.
Well,
so what does that say?
That's true. That's true. So some of the world's most powerful people, were vertically challenged, homely, and everything else.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Scorpion's talking about his perfect teeth. Listen, I'm huge about teeth. Teeth, to me, are one of the most important things on a person. I really take care of my teeth. I whiten my teeth. I really work on my teeth. I had braces as an adult when I was 35 years old, so I get that. I will do whatever I can to make myself the best that I can be, but I'm not going to pine over the fact that I'm not going to be, a Chippendale or a male model. And especially at my age now, I really don't give a shit. I just want to look the best that I can for a guy my age and for me, for my genetics. That's it. Without, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
Look around the street. You are better looking than most people. That's a fact. I mean, that's indisputable. Look around you. Look on the street. I have to say myself. I even consider myself better looking than most people I see in the streets. I'm tall and everything else.
This is going to sound like a stroke fest, but you happen to be a pretty good looking guy, Joe. People wouldn't believe it because you sound like a complete nut. You sound like You sound like you're laying in bed. You're one of these guys like who can't get out of their bed. They're so fat that they have to they have to cut their wall down in order to remove them from their house. That's how you sound on the radio.
Well, I'm very thin in person. You know that, Spencer.
You are very thin, and you actually are a pretty good-looking guy. So.
Well, I'm not as good-looking as I was. I've obviously aged, like most people, but and I've suffered hair loss, but
Dude, I'm gray. I got a gray goatee now. It is what it is. I was out in Los Angeles with without sounding obnoxious, and you've met her, my exceptionally beautiful woman who is significantly younger than me. And, she doesn't age at all, actually. And I do. My hair is getting really gray. And I'm out, and, sometimes I'm wondering, do people think like I don't think they think I'm her dad. But does it look strange that I am, because for whatever reason, this woman does not age. So she gets carded when we go out. Every time we go to dinner, she gets carded if she orders a drink. And she's, I think she's, what is she now, 34 years old. So she's far from 21. So she, so I think about those things. Anyway, let's.
No,
George is still holding on.
You constantly. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spencer, I want you to one thing quickly. You always talk about your gray hair. That's curable. That problem could be cured in 5 minutes.
I don't consider it a problem. It's just a fact. If it was a problem,
that could be eradicated.
If it was a problem, I would take care of it. But to me, it's like I feel blessed that I'm in a position to have gray hair. I never thought that I would be able to get to this point where I would have enough hair where I would be concerned about it being gray. And to me, it's a blessing. Yeah. It's a blessing. And frankly, with the crazy hairspray that I have to wear, it looks a lot better than when it was dark because when you have to wear hairspray, it kind of takes away the sheen and the naturalness of your hair, of your natural hair color. When your hair is gray, you lose that anyway. So you could spray it and it doesn't really look that, as screwed up as it does when it's like one, dark color.
No, but I've studied your conversation, your voice, your tone in your voice. Like you seem to be insinuating your gray hair is making you appear older. That's the impression I'm getting. I
would say that gray hair absolutely signifies a man of greater years, for sure.
Yes, but if you did color it, I think it would take at least, and divorced your goatee and mustache, it would take at least 3 to 5 years off your appearance. Am I correct in that analysis?
I would probably I'd probably say that, probably more. I think if I just shaved, I would take 5 years off, because I've seen, I've cut it very close, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's crazy how much younger you look." However, I like the way it looks. I kind of like the dignified look that the gray gives me, even in my beard. You guys see, this lighting for some reason makes me look less gray than I actually am, and I have to get a better hair light so I can really light up my hair. But I like that as far as in my professional life. When I'm out, like today, it was a business thing, and it gives you a kind of instant credibility and respect. When I was young, I started this at a very young age, and I was published by the time I was 31 years old. And when I was 31, I looked like a kid. So, walking into these functions and doing book signings and doing all that stuff, when people would meet me, they were shocked at how young I was, even though I wasn't that young. So as I started to get gray, I actually got more confidence in those type of situations, because I kind of like garnered the respect right away. It's a weird world. As a man, you kind of get, you're looked at differently if you look more mature. If you look very immature, no matter what position you're in, sometimes you don't get the same respect, unless you're like a what is it, Zuckerberg, right? How do you pronounce his name? The guy from Facebook, Zuckerman. Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg. I noticed he's in Norway too. I wanted to bring that up too.
Yeah, but you know what? He's a billionaire, and he changed the way the world communicates, and it's unbelievable, man. It's what this guy has done is just unreal. Now, I was offered to buy some of the IPO stock, and I chose not to.
I'm glad you did.
I chose not to. My broker called me,
Smart
and
move.
We were considering doing like something like 2,000 shares. I'm like, these guys are just they're throwing this out. They're selling this stuff. I know it's not going to, usually when you get in, if you can get in on an IPO, you can probably make 25% of your investment right away within, the first day of trading. I just didn't feel it. And I guess I was right. I don't know what's going to happen, but now the price is set. So if I wanted to buy in, I can buy in now.
Well, let me tell you this. As you know, I'm a student of finance. It closed 35% of 35 cents above its IPO price, only because the bank.
It was 21 cents, wasn't it? I thought it was 21 cents.
Well, probably 21 cents. Only yes, right, 3.5%.
Right.
Only because the banks propped it up. It would have fallen below its IPO price.
Right.
That's going to happen next week. It's going to be a bloodbath. Let me make this prediction.
I don't know if it's going to be a blood. I think people who are going to make the long-term investment. I do not think that Facebook is going anywhere, and it's going to evolve right now. And we should be talking about hair loss, but GM. The interesting news is right before the IPO, GM pulled their advertising. They were spending, I think, something like $10 million a month, or something like that, advertising through Facebook. Obviously, they kept all their Facebook fan pages for their cars. Right now, they're advertising for free. I think if Facebook figures out a way to monetize their fan pages for these big companies, then that's going to help the stock as well. But right now, as far as straight advertising, they haven't figured out how to make that model work. So I think the small guys who made the investments, well, actually no small guys really made investments, because they had to get, they had to be lucky enough to get, involved with the IPO. They had to be relatively big fish in order to, or have a decent amount of money in their accounts in order to have that opportunity. But I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath. I think, the guys that are investing for the long term will make money with Facebook for sure. But I think it's going to drop a little bit this next week. But a bloodbath?
Yes,
a bloodbath? Do you really think it's going to be a bloodbath? I think
it's going to go down by 20%.
Yeah, but that's not. If you're going to hold on to the stock, that's not a bloodbath.
Well, that's my opinion. I'd recommend Allergan, for obvious reasons. I did, as you know, 2 years ago on the show, when the stock has virtually tripled. As you know,
that's true. That was your estimate.
Yes, and I'm telling you guys, it's going to go a lot farther within the next year. I can guarantee that when they get worldwide press.
So let me ask you: are there any questions in the chat room that these guys want me to answer? Before I take the call.
Several sufferers wanted to know, as was posted on the Bold Truth Talk, about this new product a lot of hair loss sufferers are experimenting with. I think it's COO something. I've lost track. So many things going on. COO something with numerous. Have you seen it on the Ball 2 Talk?
I have, but what is the, I think I know what you're talking about. Give me the exact, see if you can find it in the chat.
COO, if I go to, well, I don't see it now.
Listen, this is all I'm going to say. That CBO 301. This is all I'm going to say. That for years I've been involved in the message forums for years. Forget about my forum, but just involved in, even before there were message forums, when there were like news groups like alt.baldspot. There's always some miracle like drug that is being somehow manufactured and distributed throughout these guys in the message forums, and either it's through Europe or people are getting their hands on this stuff and they're saying that they're getting these great results and this is happening and that's happening. The truth of the matter is I've never seen any long-term results with any of these products, including RU58841. What is it now, Joe? What's the number now?
RU58841, right?
Yeah.
And CBO 301 is another one.
Right.
Well, that's Cosmo Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, that's right. It got $1 million funding. Is that $100 million or $1,000? What's $1,000 million funding?
It got $10 million funding, as a matter of fact. That's the correct amount. By Cosmo Pharmaceuticals was ejected by a major American pharmaceutical company, which has not been mentioned. They got a $10 million cash infusion. The clinical trial 2.
I'm reading this. I find this interesting. With all due respect, TBT forum isn't that lively, and the only other main site has like 10 posters. I'd have to tend to disagree, because if you actually look at the traffic, and if you are internet savvy, you can figure that out. We are currently the most lively and the most trafficked forum. Well, there's one other forum that's pretty well trafficked as well, but out of the 3 main forums that the industry looks at, we are the most trafficked forum, and we've only been around for 3.5 years. And when I say most trafficked, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of users coming to the site every month, and that's not hyperbole. That's fact. So it's possible that we're not getting this crazy 700 posts a day, but we're getting more posts than most forums, and we're certainly getting more traffic than most forums. So if you want it to be more lively, you guys should get in there and post about this stuff. But anyway, as far as all of the information out there on these drugs, listen, dude, there's always some shit that's out there. It's great that this company got some funding. Let's hope things work.
Well, I don't really post because I don't have all the inside information that these cats have, and I mean it facetiously, sarcastically, but they don't know anything, and people actually believe what they say. I mean, it's really getting aggravating. On the Hair Loss Talk forum, we don't have as much, psychotic people as on that other side. I don't care to mention. We have more of a civilized tone on the Ball 2 Talk.
Well, we try to. We certainly try to. So, and the guy in the chat room is like, you have like 5 people, and that's not true. If you actually look at if you actually look at all the forums and you see how many posts are made a day, there are hundreds of posts made by not 5 people, but by a lot of people, a lot of newbies that are coming on every day who are asking for help. Sadly, you guys aren't participating in those threads and helping these guys. You guys are so focused on the Histogens and the RepliCels and all the stuff. You know what I'm focused on? Obviously, I read everything that I can, but I want to I wish guys would help the guys that can be helped today, not just worry about what's happening tomorrow. Help the guys with hair transplantation. Help the guys with non-surgical hair replacement. Help the guys who are considering using finasteride or minoxidil. These are the guys that need help. The guys that want help today. The guys that are not just, hoping and praying that something is going to come down the pike and we're going to be saved by these companies. I believe that's going to happen. But you know what? I live for today, man. I want you guys to understand that you need help. So many of these guys need help today. And to turn them off from hair transplantation when they can be helped, or from wearing a great hair system when they can go on, live their lives, get married, have children, be successful in life if they're wearing a hairpiece, and just tell them, oh, you got to wait for the Holy Grail. You know what? I'm very positive about this, but who knows? It's possible. Maybe it won't be for 20 years. I don't think that's the case.
God forbid.
Listen, I don't think that's the case, Joe. But
Please, Spencer,
why wait? I'm not going to wait till I'm 60 years old to live my life. I'll paint my head. I've told you guys, I've tried, partial hair pieces, and if my hair recedes more or if I need more hair, I will slap one on in a second. Tomorrow. I have actually product in my house. People have sent me stuff that I've tried. If I want to glue that crap on, I'll glue it on. It doesn't make a difference to me. I've worn pieces out and felt very comfortable, and it looked very natural. To me, that's not an issue. I want everyone to understand that there are options out there to live today. Joe, I can't talk you into it.
Spencer, I have no options. In my opinion.
People are asking me why no hair transplant. I'm not saying I'm not going to get a hair transplant right now, and I feel very fortunate that I believe I have too much hair for a hair transplant because I'm not 100% convinced that I'm not going to suffer from shock loss. And even though I tell everybody this, there are plenty of Norwood 3s, Norwood 2s that get hair transplants and have great results, live their lives, they can comb their hair back, great. But there's also the guys that have the shock loss, that go through the emotional roller coaster for a year until their hair grows back. I'm not willing to do that. And when the time comes and I lose enough hair where I think a hair transplant is really going to benefit me, I'm going to do that too. I will do it all.
God forbid, Spencer. I think something will come along to help you way before that.
Well, we'll see. And Tracy, thank you for that. But, listen, I paint a significant portion of my scalp now. I have a lot of hair still, luckily, so when you paint it, it doesn't look bad. But I got to paint my head. Otherwise, you can see the scalp through my hair, especially in the daylight. It's a mess. If I open the sunroof and that paint's not on, it depresses me. So that's how I live my life. Let me give out the phone number, 888-659-3727. We're going to be taking some calls in a minute. I want to answer your questions. If you have concerns, questions about your hair loss, please call us here at The Bald Truth, 888-659-3727. I'm noticing with my studio here that I'm getting lower and lower in this chair. I'm going to have to reconfigure this thing, get a new chair, and kind of reconfigure the studio a little bit. I'm kind of getting tired of the look. And again, this guy's like, Spencer seems like he has no hope in these treatments. That's not true. I do have hope. But I want you guys to understand that you have to live today. Life is short. You can get hit by a car tomorrow. Look, it happened to my brother. My brother had a great life. He was out running and he was hit by a car and he never knew what hit him, and that was it. He is dead. It is gone.
It'll be 6 years. It'll be 6 years on June 17th. Am I correct, Spencer?
That's right.
I have very good memory.
Thank you for that. Thank you for remembering. But
your brother, I want to honor your brother Alan right now. As a matter of fact, dedicate the show to him.
Thank you. But the point is, my brother had problems. My brother suffered with his own problems. He had a great life. I don't know if he realized how great of a life he had. But the point is, it could end tomorrow. So why sit in your fucking apartments and worry about the fact that you can't get laid and you're not living your life, you're not enjoying your days, but you're walking around looking at every fucking reflection, miserable, waiting for the holy grail, when you can go out there, slap on a partial hairpiece or whatever, you get a hair transplant, live your life until the cure or more effective treatments come down the pike. So to say that I don't believe that this is happening, or I'm discouraged, or that I'm not convinced that this is going to happen. I am convinced, but I'm not waiting for it. I'm not living my life in as a recluse because I'm unhappy with the way that I look. For a while I did, and then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do whatever I can to give myself the look that makes me feel comfortable in my own skin, where I can go out and do my thing. And it's still not perfect. I still get comments every once in a while. But it is what it is. That the hairspray or the comb over, or it looks pretty good, but it could be a little less, harsh as far as the amount of hairspray that I use. I've been dealing with this for a long time, but you know what? I go out, I live my life every day. I still have issues with the wind. As Joe knows, when he first met me, I had this aerodynamic hair walk.
Yes.
You know?
I witnessed that.
That's just the way that
I
it
was
is, man.
dissecting you. It was the first thing I noticed.
But I'm not perfect, but you know what? I enjoy my life the best as I can. I'm having a drink right now. I might get laid later, have some Chinese food or something. You know? That's
you
it.
are near perfection, Spencer. Let me say that.
Joe, stop it, man. I appreciate it. 888-659-3727. Let's talk about someone who is actually, talk to someone who's actually near perfection. I've seen his photographs. And
George.
He lives his life basically alone, unhappy, from what he tells us, not really living to his fullest. George, I'm going to pot you up, man. Are you there?
Have a drink, George, man. Have a drink on me, man.
Have a drink, huh?
Or just a Xanax or something. Do something, man.
Andrew Zarian's like booze, sex, and Chinese food. Best night ever. That is a good night. You can't go wrong. You know, I live day by day. You know, obviously I work towards my future financially and emotionally. You know, I try to realize that, okay, if I live through a long life, I have to be prepared for that. But with that said, I try to just enjoy the days as they come. And I do my best, to live within the moment, which is not easy because I have OCD. I have all kinds of other issues.
Movement disorder.
I have a movement disorder, which, you know, I thank you for bringing that up. You know, other issues that I've dealt with my whole life. I have a lot of family issues, a lot of financial pressures over the years. But I've learned to, and I have a lot of haters out there. Some stuff that I can't talk about at this point, but I'll be able to share it very soon. Just won a significant defamation lawsuit, which is actually groundbreaking in the U.S., which I'll be able to talk about. And with all that said, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, all right, man, I have no pain today. You know, I'm waking up with wood. I have a beautiful woman, you know, sleeping next to me. I have a great home, a great life. There are people that don't understand what I do. There are people who criticize what I do. And then there are probably many more people that love what I do. And I thank God for that. And I think, you know, and I don't mean to sound religious, you know, or you know, I don't know. I just want you guys to know that there's really a lot of opportunities out there for you guys to be happy. And you can't just pin your hopes on these future cures. Even though I have hope that this is going to happen, I don't want you guys to just stop living. And I guess that's my point. And when people say, oh, it doesn't look like Spencer's too confident, you know, I am confident, but I'm not going to tell you guys to wait because you never know what's going to happen.
That's usually you constantly say it's going to be here sooner than anybody thinks. So how come people say that you're negative? You're positive on it. You present all these interviews as information.
Listen,
you're more positive than ever.
I do my best. And you know, I'm seeing what's happening in the chat room. Guys, stop infighting in the chat room. We don't want to ban Scorpion. I just wish What?
Since Scorpion's in the chat room, I gotta tell you, it's become very dark.
Yeah.
I thought I was bad.
Listen, Scorpion, I just, it's not the wine talking. Scorpion, I just want you to know that, you know, we are all here to try to help you. So if you see the you know, guys who are really concerned about, you know, maybe some of the things that you're saying, or they disagree with you, I mean, don't be so hard-nosed. You know, just realize that you have your opinions, they have their opinions. I prefer you guys not to, you know, to bash each other in this chat room when we're doing the live show, and let the chat flow in the most positive way possible. Let's try to stop all the negativity. I mean, God, I wish that were possible. Why can't you guys just, you know, just chill out a little bit? What do you think?
I agree with you. Yes, Scorpion, please. We care about you. Just calm down a little. You're very negative. You know, man. You're bringing the chat room down.
Yeah, and you know what? The truth of the matter is, I don't run the chat room. It's really GFQ. So if they want to ban somebody, it has nothing to do with me. This is their, you know, basically they're syndicating my program. We're using their chat. So their moderators are the guys that ban people. I don't have anything to do with it, neither do my people. So, you know, whatever happens, happens. They're being very tolerant because they understand, you know, the way the show works. But guys, just try to chill out. 888-659-3727. Guys, I am going to take another quick break. When I come back, I will take your phone calls. And, Scorpion, we have an 800 number. I think you might be able to get through internationally. I'm not sure. You said you're in Eastern Europe, so I don't know how that's going to work. It should work if you dial the country code with the 888. But, you can give it a shot. But if you have specific questions, you can, ask them in the chat room. I'll be more than happy to answer you. 888-659-3727. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Any of you that have ever felt stepped on, left out, picked on, put down, whether you think you're a nerd or not, why don't you just come down here and join us, okay? Come on.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Sex, life, and hair loss. This is the Bald Truth, self-help radio for guys. And of course, for girls who get it, this is the hair loss show. And if you can't deal with it, if you don't know why you are tuning in or watching the show, if you're not a hair loss sufferer or don't know someone who is, then move on with your life. That's all I have to say, because I got to tell you, this could be some really depressing shit. 2/3 of you by the age of 35 will suffer with some degree of hair loss, and 40% of hair loss sufferers are women. And, I say this all the time, but we are really the largest demographic of all humankind. And you're right, John, it is depressing. But the good news is, for 2 hours each and every week for the past 14 years, hair loss sufferers have been able to get together and talk about a subject that society does not allow us to talk about. An issue that is not taken seriously by most people who are not suffering with hair loss. And even though we're the majority, for whatever reason, we still can't talk about it. It's crazy. And that's why hair loss sufferers are so vulnerable. That's why we fall prey to the snake oil salesmen and the unethical hair transplant doctors and the guys who are doing scalp tattoos. And again, there's probably some guys that are doing a good job out there, but most of what I've seen is not great. And Joe, I'm glad you're in the chat room, because some guy was asking about, this guy from New York was asking about the Italian tattoo artist that you recommended, who was doing a semi-permanent, or a maybe not even semi-permanent, a tattoo that will eventually fade, and he wanted to know more about that, so you might want to call in. Anyway, 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, Spence, it's Andrew.
Andrew, what's happening, man? How are you?
What's going on, man? How's everything?
Having a skinny girl Cosmo right now.
Very good. I just took an Ambien about 35 minutes ago.
Good for you. You're ahead of me, dude.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
So
I got laid. I had a sandwich, and I'm having a bowl of pasta, and I took my Ambien.
Good for you. All in 15 minutes. That's awesome.
All in 5 minutes.
Good for you. Good for you. So how's the wife doing?
She's good.
Good.
She's sleeping.
All right, good.
I came downstairs. I wanted to check on the feed, and I decided to call in. I haven't called in a couple of weeks.
You knocked her ass out. Good for you.
I think she was sleeping during the entire process.
I know how it is, bro. So, I mean, we got this guy Scorpion in the room who is like he's a big poster now on Bald Truth Talk. Guy who is sadly he's a young guy who was, I believe, doesn't really have a strong grasp of the reality of life and living life as most of us do. He believes that you have to be a fashion model in order to have some sort of enjoyment out of life. You're a good-looking guy. What do you say about it? You believe the same thing?
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I'm Scorpion.
Why do I believe that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all over now. No, you don't need to be a fashion model to get laid or to do whatever he wants to do. I mean, I've seen some of his posts, and they're pretty ridiculous, if you ask me.
Well, I think everyone has the right to their opinion. I just feel bad for the guy that he really believes that unless he attains this, for most people, unattainable goal, he's not going to have a great life. And that is so untrue.
It's not realistic. I mean, there's some certain realistic goals that you could set for yourself, but there's some goals that are extremely unrealistic. They can't break your face. I mean, to some extent they can with a nose job, but they can't break your bone structure and reconstruct the face of a certain model. I mean, that's not really going to happen.
Right. I agree, and I don't even think the effort to think about it. It's just Scorpion. I'm going to put this out there. I want you to learn to enjoy your life, and I promise you, if you continue to watch the Bald Truth or listen to the Bald Truth and kind of learn how other people find ways to live their life who are probably a lot worse looking than you are, then I think maybe you can find some happiness in this world.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it affects a lot of people in different ways. I mean, I've even gone nutty, and I went to go see a doctor, and I had a whole evaluation done of my hair and where it's going and what they think is happening. So, I mean, but
that's normal. You're just concerned about you don't want to lose your hair. That's a normal thing. This cat thinks that he has to look like a male model, otherwise his life is going to be shit.
No, that's out of control. That's a crazy thought. You could have a very successful life, and you could get laid, and you could date whoever you want. It comes down to personality as well. I know a lot of ugly dudes that are dating smoking hot, 9s and 8s.
That's right, and they're not necessarily rich. Everyone thinks they have to be rich.
No, they're not rich.
Yeah.
No. I mean, most of my friends, a lot of my friends aren't good looking. They're making, they're union guys or they're cops or whatever. And one of my buddies, actually, he lost all of his hair. He lost it young. He's a cop, makes an okay living, and his wife is drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
So, and, he's nothing special. I mean, he's an average looking guy, so it really depends.
Well, I agree, absolutely, man. So tell me about your hair situation.
Where do I begin?
Well, I know that you went to see a specialist. You went to see somebody that I recommended for you to check out, and you came back a little concerned that he did admit that you might be losing your hair a little bit.
Do you want me to say who it was or no?
Sure, why not?
I went to go see Dr. Frank in New York City,
right.
And I'll tell you, it was a little weird. You go into this office and they sit you down, and I think later on when they realize that I'm pretty tight with you, their attitude towards my hair loss changed a little bit.
Why? Was their attitude like, well, maybe you're not that bad?
No, it was at first it was like, yep, it's all going.
No, come on.
I got that kind of vibe.
Okay.
I got like a weird vibe. Like they put the microscope on your head and they're like, this is the hair that's not coming back. This is the hair that's trying to come back. This is your, medium hair, and this is whatever. This is the density of it. So they do the whole process with you, and anybody that's sitting in the chair, regardless of where you are on that Norwood scale, you could be having zero hair loss. But once they put a microscope to your scalp, you automatically start freaking out. And at that moment, they could sell you any shit that they want. If this guy pulled up a Bulgarian ointment used on camels and said it might grow your hair, I would have tried it.
Yeah.
I would have bought it right there, $1,000. I mean, it's crazy to think about that, but that's how a lot of these people get sucked into buying bizarre products. But so he did the microscope thing. He said there's nearly no hair loss on the top, on the crown. Like there's like nothing.
And that's a great, and to me that really shows that you're not progressing quickly. So even if you have a slight recessed or miniaturizing hairline, you're probably not going to go. It's going to take a while.
So, yeah, I mean, he said, he's like, well, listen, there's no hair loss there, and the odds of you losing your hair up there are slim, but there's nothing, you can't really tell. But in the front, he's like, it's receding a little bit. It's very, very slow and very, very early. But he said, he's like, listen, maybe you'll lose by the time you're done with this, which he said, like maybe like by the time I'm like in my 40s or 50s, I may lose 30%.
Well, you know what? 30% is basically negligible because if you you really have to lose about 50% before you notice that you're losing hair in a given area. So does he mean 30% overall or 30% in your hairline?
I don't know. There were two guys. It was Dr. Frank and his, I guess, whoever else was there for the consult.
His tech or his who?
I guess his tech. Yeah, his tech. And, so they started off with it being a little aggressive with my hair. And then the more I spoke to them, the more they were like, listen, I don't think you're going to ever be like a full, Norwood on the scale. You're going to, obviously, everybody thins out later on in life, but there are ways to treat it. And I thought he was going to give me a prescription to Finasteride, and he didn't.
Now, did you want to start Finasteride, or was he like, you know what, he's kind of like borderline, maybe I shouldn't put him on there?
I was pretty aggressive. That's what he did. See, I was pretty aggressive with the Propecia. I was like, listen, I've done Propecia in the past. I didn't have the side effects. It might have been too early, but I didn't notice anything bad. I didn't have shock loss because it wasn't long enough, but I'm willing to try it out. And I don't think he felt comfortable with giving me the Propecia. Like, I think he wants to see where my hair goes in the next 3 months. He feels that it might be like a shedding phase I'm going through.
Yeah, but you told me you're not really shedding, though. You're losing a lot of hair right now?
I haven't really noticed it as much. And that's the crazy thing. It's almost like when you're sick and you go to the doctor, you feel better.
Right.
I went to the doctor, and I've been, looking in the shower, and I'm not noticing as much hair falling out.
That's great, man. So maybe you were going through a short shed, and now you're okay.
I don't know. Did he check my vag? No, he checked yours. Somebody asked me if he checked my vag.
You said the phones were low. Are they okay now? I upped the gain a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay.
But, I'll tell you, it's a really scary process for anybody to go through. So now I'm just going to go back in a couple of months to see what he says and if, there's any more loss, because they really can't. He was looking at it, he's like, listen, there's some hair that's dying out here, and those are not going to come back, but it's not awful. I've seen far worse than anything else, than what you have.
Well, you still have so much hair, Andrew. That's the thing. But I get it. If you think you're losing your hair, you probably are. But it doesn't mean that you're going to get to the point where it becomes really noticeable. It may take you 10 years. And some guys, they start the process, they start to go through a telogen effluvium, and they lose their hair almost overnight. I've known you for what, 2 years now? Almost 3?
2 years.
Yeah, I haven't really seen that much of a change.
You know when it's really noticeable? When my hair is longer, that's when you start noticing how like the density of the hair is not there, and how it doesn't grip onto other hairs.
What does your wife say?
She says it's thinned out a little bit, but she's like, honestly, if you weren't so obsessed with the hair stuff, I would have never been able to tell.
Right.
But it's not like I have hair on my pillow every morning when I'm waking up.
That's why I say you should probably hold off. I wouldn't even start medication at this point, and I think maybe Dr. Frank was right. Go back in a few months and check it out and see what he says.
Well, that's what he said. He's like, listen, I don't want to put you on medication that maybe you shouldn't be on. If in 3 months you come back and I've seen no change in your hair, then you don't need the medication because it's not really falling out. You might have gone through some sort of, phase where your hair, a couple fell out and that's it, and then it stops. And is it true that, and I was going to ask you this, and I don't know if I asked you off the air, that it goes through phases, like it'll fall out for 3 months and then stop?
Yeah, your hair loss actually does cycle, and some guys will go through like a telogen effluvium where a shed can, start, at some point and last like 6 months, and you're flipping out, and then it just kind of stops, and then it will cycle again. And some guys cycle through, different seasons. So, but honestly, if you think you're losing your hair, I always say you probably are, but you may be a guy that loses some hair. Is dealing with some degree of male pattern baldness, but it's not really that severe. And you may be 40 before it really affects the way you look.
No, I'm hoping that's the case, But it's a ticking time bomb for anybody. Like, it's the worst thing in the world to tell somebody that, yeah, I see some sort of hair loss, but there's nothing we are going to do right now for it because it's not as bad as it could be.
Well, the reason they say that is, one thing about starting finasteride or, minoxidil is you can go through etylogen effluvium or a shed. And for a lot of guys, that is really an emotional experience that, you don't necessarily want to put people through if you're not 100% sure that they're going to progress to the point where hair loss changes their appearance. So, I think he was probably erring on the side of caution. And
well, he was very concerned with how I would deal with the shedding with finasteride.
Yeah, but you're a nut, man. You would not deal with it well. Hello? Is this thing on?
Yeah, no, I'm reading the chat. No, I guess he got that vibe too, that I wouldn't be able to deal with it well. So he was like, maybe we should hold off on it, and he recommended that other stuff.
Yeah, I think the best bet for you is, and I said this before, I could say, all right, go to a doctor. I can send you somebody else. Get your prescription for Propecia. You already know that you haven't had side effects. You're on it for a month. So you feel pretty confident about that, but you never know, obviously. But what happens if you go through a shed in 3 months? How will you deal with that?
No, I'll just off myself, that's all.
Yeah, so not good. All right, man, listen, it is late. It's 6 minutes after the hour. I appreciate the call, and I'll tell you that I watched you the other day. I saw you on the free-for-all, obviously. I was on the show with you, but your hair looks great, man. I mean, I think most people will be jealous to have what you have.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
All right, bro. I will
feel
talk
better
to you.
now.
All right, good.
All right,
have a good night, man.
Good night, guys.
Thanks for the call.
Later, guys.
That's Andrew Zarian from the Guys from Queens Network, GFQ.com. guysfromqueens.com and GFQlive.tv. Oh, my God. I was burped all over the air. I will tell you that since I got involved with GFQ, I am, very grateful that they wanted to syndicate this broadcast, because I have had other guys that have contacted me, other companies that have contacted me that I almost gave the show away to. And these guys really have done a great job. There is no doubt that in my view that these guys are not only great online syndicators, but they produce some of the best programming on the internet. So I want to thank you guys for doing what you do. And I want to give a big shout out to Suncast, who is almost, he has a thankless job. This guy runs, the chats for all the shows. He does all the editing and the production. He uploads all the videos, and he's a guy that does a lot of hard work. So I want to thank you for doing what you do, Suncast. Let me give out the website. Let's say goodbye to Joe and George before I say goodnight. Guys, I'm potting you up for a second to say goodnight to everybody and say goodnight to you guys. Any last words, Joe? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, will you be working Memorial Day weekend, or you're not sure?
Yeah, I'll be working. Why not? I'll see. I think I'll be working. I'll let you know if I decide to take the day off.
Yeah, because I'm not really sure. I may have family thing. I'm not sure exactly what's going on.
All right, we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll take the next week off. We'll see.
You can. It's up to you if you want to.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll see. If you give me permission, Joe, maybe I'll do it.
Spencer, you're the boss. You're the boss of the hair loss world, man. You're the king of the hair loss sufferers. Yeah. I'm but one of your loyal subjects.
And how depressing is that, by the way?
Well, it's the truth. You are the king of the hair loss sufferers.
Jesus.
By the way, my daughter was commenting that you look good with a shaved head. I was asking her during the commercial break. She said you look very good if you shave your head. She said you're a very handsome boy.
Well, I appreciate that. Coming from your daughter is, 14 years old?
17. She thinks she's like 25 or 28, she thought.
No,
like
she
28.
did. Bullshit. Come on. Thank you.
Yes, she did. She thought she was late 20s.
Yeah, well, that's great. Tell her I'm 47. I could be her dad.
She told me that I could be your dad.
Oh, that's fucked up.
She said.
That's so wrong.
She said, what is Spencer, one of your sons?
Very handsome boy. Jesus, you guys.
She said. I think she has maybe a kind of crush. A little crush, I don't know.
Well, you let me know when she's 18. I'll give her a call. George, I want to say goodnight to you, man.
Okay, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot for bringing me back up, and I want to say goodnight to my friend Joe, and it's good to hear Andrew Zarian's voice, and again, thanks
George,
a lot for Suncast.
Please, just one quick thing, please be happy, George, because lately you've been sounding really down, and I'm getting worried about you, right, man? You've changed for the nothing good, man. I Help is on the way, okay, George?
I've just been dealing with a lot of personal stuff, man. It's just a lot of shit going on in my life, and you know how it is. So sometimes you get overwhelmed, you know.
Dude, I hear you, man. I've been I deal with so much shit you guys can't even imagine. But you know, you just have to deal with it, man. Live life, enjoy yourself, have a couple of drinks, and George, please go out and get laid, man. Just even if you have to pay for it, enjoy yourself.
Why don't you self-induce himself? It's easier, cheaper, and faster.
Oh God! All right, guys. All right, guys. I'm gonna
say goodnight. Just say goodnight to Scorpion. Tell him not to do anything crazy. Of course, the kid does need help. Please tell him not to do anything crazy, please.
Well, you just told him. He hears you.
I like him. All right, he's all right.
All right, Scorpion. Listen, good night. We want to help you, man. Just hang in there, and I promise you, there is life beyond hair loss, and you don't have to be a supermodel to enjoy yourself in this world. Let me go out the websites, thebaldtruth.com, IAHRS.org for the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. If you are a woman dealing with hair loss, please check out womenshairlossproject.com. And also, if you want to join the message forums, you want to interact with other hair loss sufferers who are dealing with exactly what you're dealing with, please check out baldtruthtalk.com. Until next time, I want you all to be strong. God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.